Hi, Mariano Gomez, the Dynamics GP Blogster here. Today I want to actually bring something very interesting and fun for you. I'm going to show you how to install the Flic hub, the Flic button, and take a look at the Flic radio interface. So we'll see how to actually leverage all these, set up a quick, nice Microsoft Flow demonstration using these three things, and then show you how else you can apply this in real life. Now, I've been away for a bit of time and I know that we need to get our video content going. So I wanted to actually start out the year with this very nice set of tools that you can leverage either in the enterprise or at home. So let's see how we do that. So the first thing we'll talk about is the Flic hub. The Flic hub, as you can tell, is a device that actually allows you to network multiple Flic buttons. In this case, I have 4 here, and I have a loose button that I can actually also tie into the hub. So the hub does allow you to actually connect every single button that you have to a central location. Now, the hub is equipped with a few things. You have a network port, you actually have an audio port, you have a port for the infrared connector, which then allows you to control other devices throughout your home or throughout your enterprise. Now, the hub also comes equipped with a charging port, so actually a power port. It's basically a micro USB hub entry that does allow you to, to keep the device powered while you're working with it. Now, in the bottom of that device, you will actually find a factory password. That factory password, I have it covered here, but you can actually enter that when pairing the hub with your device. So let's see how that is done. So I've gone ahead and powered my Flic hub. And you can do this with either your standard laptop USB port, or if you have an external USB port, that's also acceptable. But at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here on Add Hub on the app, which you have previously downloaded from your app store. And then what it will do is it will scan for the hubs. As you can see now, it identified the hub that I currently have on my desk. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose that. And what it will then do is prompt me for the password, which I can find on the bottom of the hub itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter that one. And as you can see, the password is a little bit on the visible side, but I don't know that this is anything super secret because it will only work for this particular device. Then once I'm done, I can hit connect. This should take a few seconds to actually register the hub with my Bluetooth devices. And then once it's done, I can give it a name. So I am a big fan of Galaxian, so I'm just going to type in Galaxian here and hit done and continue here. Currently, I'm using an Android phone, so that should be everything that you need to know about this. But the next thing that it will do then is I can then go ahead and add a Flic button. So let me see. I'm going to delete this one that I had registered before, but as you can see down here, you can add a Flic to the hub, and that's basically a Flic button in general. So I'm just going to pick up one of these that I have here, and I'm going to go ahead and add the button. So the next thing I do is I have to actually press the button as indicated by the diagram or the icon on the screen. So I'm just going to go ahead and press that button for a few seconds, and once it registers, it connects directly to the button itself, and there you go. I can also name this particular button, and I can call it something like Fly X, and I'm gonna hit done when I'm done here. So now my button is registered. I can go ahead and register as many buttons as I want. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit finish, and I'm going to take a second button and add that to the hub so you guys can see how that works as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and register the second button. I'm going to press it just like I did with the first one for a few seconds, And then as you can see here, that button is also being registered. Boom, there we go. All right, so I can then give it a name again. Call this fly Y, for example. So once I hit done here, that button should now be registered. As you can see now on my interface, I actually have two Flic buttons, which correspond to two actual physical buttons that I have on my desk. I'm just gonna switch over here for a second so you can get an idea of what I'm doing. So I have powered my Flic hub, and on top of it, I've actually registered these two buttons. The good thing about these is you can label them. So that should be something you do once you have your application identified and your buttons identified. So the good thing though is if I switch back over here, I can then click on Flic X, for example, or Flic Y, and it will tap to see which one it is that I'm pressing on the screen. If I press Flic X, it will look at that one as well. And that's actually the beauty of having a hub, because you can then register as many buttons as you want with that particular device. So in principle, then what you can do after that is you can then go ahead and configure these. So one of the things that you want to do here is if we're going to use this with Power Automate, for example, you can select the click option. And then one of the things that you can see here is that one of the triggers is the flow trigger. So that's actually pretty cool, because now I have that particular click action registered with flow, and I can save that action. And the good thing is the interface will show you exactly how that works. So I can go ahead and register the double click with flow as well, and I can register the hold with flow. So this particular button is now programmed to actually trigger Microsoft Flow. But if I want to do something else with the second button that is registered with that hub, then I have a host of other things that can be done, in particular to connect this button with either Spotify, for example. If you want to connect it with Spotify, that's something you can do. And you can definitely or also register this one for all intents and purposes with Flow as well. So that's good, because now you have the ability to trigger one Microsoft Flow with two different buttons. Like in this case, we've set up Fly X and Fly Y. So a few other things that I want to show is exactly how you go about configuring the app itself. So if we go back here and go under settings, okay, you have the ability to register this particular application and set up an actual account with Flic.io or with Shortcut Lab. Just something else I forgot to mention, the pairing of all the buttons and the hub is done with your phone. So your phone has to be the mechanism by which all these devices function together. On the Microsoft Flow side, if we just minimize this for a second and we go to flow.microsoft.com, we can then see how we can set up the actual Flow application. So I'm just gonna go here and hit create. So we're gonna set up a new Power Automate Flow, and we can then set up an instant flow. And I'm just going to skip through this particular setting here. But then once we get here, I'm just going to look for Flic trigger. So Flic is actually the trigger that you want to perform. And we can then either determine when a Flic is pressed or when a task is executed. This is a new task that was added, or a new trigger that was added. What this does is when you are working with Flic, and say for example you want to actually perform a Power Automate task based on some other task that was completed through some other connectivity mechanism in Flic, this particular task will allow you to do that. So this now allows you to connect a variety of other services to Microsoft Power Automate itself. So that's super cool. The one that we're interested in now, right now, though, is when a flick is pressed. So we can then look at the triggers and note that in order to actually register the flick button, this will then load a list of hubs and buttons that are available, in particular buttons that are registered with this hub. And you can take an action on any button that is connected to a particular hub, or you can actually target a trigger that is done from a particular button. So this gives you a real sense of the power of flick buttons as it relates to Power Automate. So if any button is pressed from this particular hub, and let's say I'm targeting a click event, I can then add a new set of steps that are taken based on that particular trigger itself. So now picture this. Let's say we have an emergency alert system in an office that depends or that uses our hub, and every employee has a flick button. Say we have an intruder in the building, any employee can actually trigger this, and then we can use a service like Twilio to basically distribute messages across the board. So that's the next thing I'm going to show you, and that's the next video you will see this week from me. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon.